I've always loved numbers, mathematical formulas, and seeing and sometimes almost believing in connections and patterns in data. I guess that's how the constellations came about. Some 1,000 years ago, our ancestors looked up at the night sky and saw all these stars shining back at them. And they tried to find patterns among the random dots. As a young girl, I loved looking up at the sky at night and doing just that. But I wanted to understand even more. What is a star? And why are some of these shining dots only planets? And why are some whole galaxies? And why do they look almost the same to us on Earth? I wanted to understand the fundamentals of the universe, and I felt as if math and physics was almost like a religion to me in some ways. I guess it was no surprise to my parents when I ended up studying physics and eventually continued with a PhD in particle physics at the Cern laboratory in Switzerland. At Cern, I felt like I finally have found a place in the world where I belonged, where my friends and colleagues share the same passion as me for math, physics, and data. The Atlas experiment at Cern, which I was a part of, processes data from the Large Hadron Collider at the rate of 500 million proton-proton collisions per second. That is really big data, and everything else seems like tiny data to me in comparison. Particle physicists must apply smart techniques in filtering the interesting collision events. And finally, they must apply advanced statistical programming tools when they want to extract a very, very small signal of interest among all that collision noise. The signal of interest for me, when I continued doing research at Cern after my PhD, was the Higgs boson. Journalists like to call it the God particle. Maybe because physicists talk about it almost in a religious manner when they explain that the Higgs boson was the last missing piece of the puzzle in mapping out the standard model of particle physics that describes the most fundamental building blocks of our universe. It was during summer of 2012 when we finally had enough data to either exclude or confirm the existence of the Higgs particle. At the moment of unveiling the analysis, a few of my colleagues and I went into the Cern cafeteria to take a sneak peek of the results before presenting it to the entire team. And I will never forget the moment when I saw the results. The Higgs was there. It was so beautifully obvious. A few of us then also stayed up that entire night at Cern to write up the paper to have it ready already the next day. And I don't think anything will ever beat that feeling as I biked home that summer morning after the most exciting 24 hours of my life. It was almost like being high on something. I guess I was high on endorphins, or yeah. We didn't know it then, but we did suspect it, that this would lead to a Nobel Prize in Physics for the theoreticians who had predicted the Higgs existence. And that already happened the following year. And that's of course super exciting, but I still often get the question, but so what? How does the Higgs discovery improve my daily life? And although they have a valid point, I do think that they underestimate the importance of understanding the data of our world. Keeping investing in fundamental research to accelerate knowledge for the longer future is key. Otherwise, technology and the development of society and even culture will stagnate at some point. Just try to imagine if the electron had never been discovered in the first place. 3 weeks after the Higgs discovery, the endorphin levels went back to normal, and I started questioning what to do next. The experiment was shutting down for a couple of years for an upgrade, and after that, will I ever be able to be part of something this great again in particle physics? A month after the Higgs discovery, it was also time for our wedding. And the honeymoon that followed gave time for reflection for the first time in really long. We knew we wanted to get pregnant in a year or two, and I therefore stopped using hormonal contraception to give my body a chance to get back to normal first. In my search for natural contraceptive methods, I found that actually the body temperature changes throughout the menstrual cycle, something well known and very much researched. I started analyzing my own temperature data and applying my statistical knowledge from particle physics to detect ovulation and pinpoint the fertile days. This was really a revelation for me, and I, of course, got more and more obsessed with my data and understanding how my body works. I, of course, showed my data to my colleagues at Cern, and some of my female colleagues also started measuring their temperature in the morning, such that I could analyze their data and inform them of their fertility. My husband, who is also a physicist, suggested that we should take this fertility algorithm and make it into an app, such that all women and couples could actually profit from this information. I thought that that's a really interesting and really great idea, and actually something I could do myself. It was 2012, and I thought that learning how to code an app must be useful for the future. So I quit my job in research, and I locked myself into our apartment for, well, about a year to finish the algorithm and develop the application itself. One appealing part of it was that this would have an impact on people's lives, well, women's lives already from the first day. Studies have shown that more and more women become aware on how hormonal contraception impacts their health and often quit using contraception altogether. We thought that we could help these women by providing them a natural alternative. We also realized that there would probably be an even larger impact in the developing world, as their hormonal contraception is not always culturally accepted or even available in some parts. According to the WHO, about 90 million out of the 210 million pregnancies per year are unintended. That's close to half. When talking to some of our very first users of the app, I quickly discovered that it wasn't only me or scientists in general who felt empowered by getting a full understanding and control of their bodies. Topics such as menstruation, PMS, fertility have been taboo for so long that it has led to ignorance and agony among women. It doesn't help that many women are put to artificial state of infertility by the pill from teenage years until it's time to have children, which becomes progressively later in our Western society. If we could only have the information in our hands to fully understand our bodies, because then we could make proper educated choices around that information. The feedback we get from our users today is rarely about the app itself, but they rather describe how the algorithm has helped them understand their bodies and how that empowers them. Seeing how my innovation has improved women's lives empowers me, but also humbles me at the same time. We have faced, and we are still facing, a surprising amount of skepticism. I guess I was maybe a bit naive at first when I thought that, well, as long as I do something good for the world, and I think I did when I developed an effective, side effect-free contraceptive option. Thank you. Thanks. Well, I thought that everything would be smooth sailing from there. I didn't really think about what a highly protected and regulated space I was entering into. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do understand why one has to be careful with innovation when it comes to health and contraception, and why some are skeptical of what we do. But the criticism we get is not based on facts and usually does not consider what is best for women. I think when it comes to contraception, it's important to increase choice, as one method does not fit all women, and also not necessarily throughout her fertile lifetime. The critics also often underestimate women's intelligence by insinuating that the method is too complicated for younger women to handle. And I wonder, why are people not comfortable with the women having the information in their hands that they need to be in control of their own bodies? The best ammunition against the skeptics is the data that we have. We have to date published 3 clinical studies together with the leading experts in the field of contraception. The last study is the largest prospective study ever performed on natural contraception, and shows from data on more than 22,000 women that the effectiveness of the method is comparable to that of the pill, but without any side effects or health risks. Thank you. The data also shows that the youngest user group, women in their early 20s, have a lower rate of unintended pregnancy than women in their 30s. This is rarely seen among other contraceptive methods, as younger women are more fertile on average. It's because the app is indeed just a tool that women can use how they see fit. And since younger women have a stronger wish to avoid pregnancy, they are actually better at protecting themselves when they're fertile. So the data shows that these young women can very much handle the data on their own bodies, and they should not be underestimated. It's also very much thanks to the data that we have and the clinical studies we perform that our app is the first ever to be certified as a contraceptive. It is now a medical device in the same regulatory risk class as the condom. And this is a huge milestone, not only for us or our users, but for health applications in general, as it is now possible for an algorithm to replace a pharmaceutical drug. I will never finish if you keep doing like this. I think it's incredibly cool what rather simple data like a woman's body temperature can tell us. I mean, the fact that temperature shows when a woman ovulates unlocks a wide range of possible insights. I mean, obviously when she's fertile or when she isn't, which is important for contraception, but it also shows if she's likely to be less fertile in general and might need external help conceiving. It can also tell her exactly when her PMS is coming, or maybe if she's approaching menopause. But the temperature also tells other stories. How is the thyroid functioning? Does she maybe have hypothyroidism, which can make it more likely to have a miscarriage and in general is more difficult to conceive? We can sometimes even see in the temperature data of a pregnant woman if her hormone levels are dropping and she needs medication to prevent a miscarriage from happening. The temperature data also shows if you have a temporary infection in your body, which could be an early sign of certain cancers. A whole new world of possibilities open. More and more startups, and therefore also investments, go into health tech, med tech, and femtech. And I think what we should strive for together is to get a complete understanding of our bodies. This knowledge would allow for better decision makings and preventive actions instead of the current system of detecting and treating already existing health issues. Every person is unique, and only when we have a full understanding on a personal level can we take proper actions. I think the future is very exciting, as the possibilities are really endless due to the data-driven insights still to come. Thank you.